Welcome back to the Michael Gaddis Show on AM 1170 The Answer. I am your host, Michael Gaddis of FrontierLoanGroup.com, and my special guest today is Robert Derringer of the San Diego Elder Law Center. That's SanDiegoElderLaw.com. And just to make sure I do everything correctly, as you know, Frontier Loan Group is licensed by the California Bureau of Real Estate, license number 01449152, NMLS ID number 345305. I am also licensed by the California Bureau of Real Estate as a real estate broker. My broker license number is 014-33800, and my NMLS ID is 280011. So now, Robert, I want to talk to you about something that's really, really important to me, and it's kind of a focus of what I do. We mentioned it before, is reverse mortgages. Now, a lot of people are starting to consider reverse mortgages. I read a statistic the other day that said, I think it was 10,000 people every day are turning age 62. I mean, there's just a huge amount of people that are now becoming eligible for these things. And one of the most frequently asked questions that I get from people who are, thinking about obtaining a reverse mortgage or the fact that, does a reverse mortgage have an impact on social benefits? And that's an important thing, because as we've talked about throughout this show, a lot of these people are depending on social benefits like Medi-Cal, supplemental Social Security, that type of income, to basically sustain themselves. So I guess let's start and start the discussion. What's your opinion on that?
My opinion is that you would need to look at your particular financial portfolio before you made any type of decision concerning reverse mortgages. One particular piece of advice that I would have across the board in terms of how a reverse mortgage may impact your public benefits eligibility is that most public benefits like Medi-Cal and SSI that are means tested depend on how much money you have. So if you take out a reverse mortgage with a lump sum and deposit all of that money into the bank, it may be a problem. Instead, if you take out a line of credit reverse mortgage that you can draw from as you need the money, you won't have a lump sum sitting in your bank account. For most people, a line of credit reverse mortgage is a much better idea than taking out a lump sum at one time, because you don't have money sitting in the bank that could potentially affect your eligibility for Medi-Cal or SSI should you need it.
So what you're saying is that a reverse mortgage isn't necessarily a bad thing in your opinion. It is something, it's a tool that you can utilize, but you need to utilize it properly so as not to affect your benefits. And if you take it out in a lump sum, it could be somewhat problematic with Medi-Cal. But if you take it in the form of a line of credit and take distributions out that way, it should not affect your Medi-Cal benefits.
It shouldn't. And taking things on a case-by-case basis is very important. But I think as a rule of thumb, it would be safe to say that a line of credit is a much safer approach when it comes to reverse mortgages.
Well, I think that's really important information, especially for those that are listening right now that are considering a reverse mortgage. Just make sure that you do a thorough analysis of your situation, just to make sure. I mean, reverse mortgages are one of those things where they're very enigmatic. They're not for everyone. I mean, but for some, they can be literally life-changing. You can literally change the direction of your life. Others, it's not so good. I mean, it's more of a luxury, so to speak. It's something that you could do, but you don't need to do. However, before you make that leap, it is really important that you talk to somebody like Robert, just to make sure that you've got all your I's dotted and T's crossed, because you might not think about that. You might, think, I'm going to go and get this reverse mortgage, and I'm going to take this lump sum out, and it sounds great. And then you're going to find out it's going to impact your ability to either obtain, or it's going to affect somehow Medi-Cal. And that might not have been something that you had taken into consideration at the time you got the reverse mortgage. Like for myself, I always like to recommend to my clients that they do obtain the advice of someone like Robert, because getting the advice of someone like Robert is really critical when it comes to those types of things. But what about supplemental Social Security benefits? What's your feeling on that?
SSI or supplemental security income it really is a poverty-based program. There certainly are people out there that are able to qualify for SSI, but I really don't see many middle-class people seeking eligibility for SSI, just because the income levels, the maximum amount of income that you're allowed to earn is so incredibly low. If you're living out in the community, I believe it's right around $800, and if you're living in a facility, in a boarding care facility, it's around $1,100. So you need to really have very little income that most people who are receiving traditional Social Security, maybe a pension through the military, or a teacher's pension have far more than. So SSI is certainly an available public benefit out there, but it's not as useful for the middle class.
Well, you're listening to the Michael Gaddis Show on AM 1170 The Answer, and our special guest today is Robert Derringer of the San Diego Elder Law Center. That's SanDiegoElderLaw.com. So I guess what you're saying is, although a reverse mortgage might have an impact on maybe supplemental Social Security benefits, overall, it's probably not overly relevant because most of the people who are looking to get a reverse mortgage are probably do not have supplemental Social Security.
Absolutely. I would just really bet that the vast majority of people that you see, Michael, who come into your office considering a reverse mortgage have Social Security, traditional Social Security income that renders them ineligible for SSI.
Well, I think that the prevalent theme, as I've mentioned multiple times during this show, is planning. And I think that, Robert has been here today to really kind of show us, how important it is to plan, not just for after death, but for in the case of incapacity or in the case of preparing to obtain certain benefits. I mean, it's really important that and probably many of you out there listening right now didn't even realize that there would be any planning involved in any of this stuff. You're probably like, well, if I need it, I need it. And I guess a lot of people, because I know, just to be honest with you, Robert, I mean, I'm a lawyer as well. I didn't know a lot of this. I mean, I didn't know that, there's a lot of mechanisms and ways to be able to prepare for Medi-Cal, especially. That's a very, very specialized niche. And you have a very, very kind of unique, perspective and ability that a lot of other people don't. Your knowledge is very keen in that particular area. So I think everyone who has questions or issues regarding this type of whether it be elder law or estate planning or trust or preparing for some sort of incapacity should contact the someone like Robert and at the San Diego Elder Law Center. I mean, it's I had the pleasure of having Philip Lindsley, who is, I believe, the main attorney at the San Diego Law Center. I had him on a TV program and I interviewed him, and he's a wealth of knowledge too. So between you two, it's a lot of knowledge regarding this area of law. And as you can tell during this last hour that we've been speaking, I mean, there's a lot of things that Robert has brought up that I know a lot of you who are listening have never thought of. And that's what makes it important. And that's what gives people like Robert value, because you don't think of these things. You don't know what you don't know, and Robert knows what you don't know, and it's really important that you really take some time to plan for these things so that you don't end up like the person I was talking about in the previous segment in the dental chair. I mean, you don't want to be that person. You don't want to be his wife. You don't want to be him. You want to plan and be ready for anything that could possibly happen. Would you say that's true, Robert?
Absolutely, yes. It's the age-old adage, measure twice, cut once, applies both to carpentry as well as your estate plan. And you don't want to be fixing a crooked door in your home, just like you don't want to be fixing a crooked estate plan. Both tasks of fixing a broken problem will be more expensive than doing it right in the first place.
Well, let me ask you a quick question before we end for the day, and that's something I saw on your website, an integrated estate plan. What is an integrated estate plan?
Great question. An integrated estate plan is an estate plan that takes into consideration your finances, your healthcare needs, your family needs, and your testamentary wishes. So you want to make sure that nothing is considered in isolation. You want to make sure that whoever you're speaking with can explain what you might be looking at in terms of long-term care costs, what you might be looking at in terms of taxes, what you might be needing to consider in terms of the law, and having someone who can make sure that everything is looked at in an integrated fashion is what we mean by an integrated estate plan.
So basically, when integrate, it's an all-encompassing look at your life. It's kind of like when you buy one of those certified used cars. You know, it's not a used car; it's certified because they literally thoroughly look through the entire car to see everything that's going on and to see what they need to do to maximize the performance of that car. And that's basically what this integrated estate plan is. It takes a look at your life, takes a look at everything that's going on in your life, and tries to put everything together in one comprehensive plan so that you have everything covered no matter what happens.
Absolutely.
Well, I want to thank my guest today, Robert Derringer of the San Diego Elder Law Center. If you want to get in touch with Robert, you can go to SanDiegoElderLaw.com, or you can call him at 619-235-4357. That's 619-235-4357. So thank you, Robert. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your busy day to come in here and see us.
Thank you, Michael.
Well, that does it for today. I want to thank you all for listening to the Michael Gaddis Show on AM 1170 The Answer. I am here every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. discussing anything and everything related to real estate. If you want to contact me with questions or topics for the show, please feel free to email me at michael@michaelgaddis.com or visit my websites at michaelgaddis.com or frontierloangroup.com. Again, you have been listening to the Michael Gaddis Show on AM 1170 The Answer. Good night.